Must be the new guy.
Yes.
Sweet child.
And don't say it must be the old guy.
You can tell who doesn't have a job.
Okay. Everybody look at the minutes? Now I think we can get rolling.
I'm ready.
You want to turn on the,
It's all on.
oh, it is on?
Yep.
Okay, all right. The Sylvania Township Board of Zoning Appeals regular hearing is now in session. Can we please do the roll call?
Mr. Bolin?
Here.
Mr. Schlachter?
Here.
Mr. Hellberg?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
And Mr. Hayes.
Here.
Okay, well done. Everyone's had a chance to look at the meeting, the minutes, I'm sorry, from the last, are we doing June and July?
Yes.
June and July. Anybody have any questions, corrections, or revisions? Not as, we don't hear any, if there's a motion to approve those minutes?
Second.
Did you? Oh, Al, made a motion, okay, sorry.
Okay. Call a roll, Mr. Bolin?
Yes.
Mr. Schlachter?
Yes.
Mr. Hellberg?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Abstain.
Yes.
Mr. Hayes.
Okay, any old business? I don't see any, but does anybody have any old business that we need to bring up? If not, we'll move to new business. We have a variance request for a front yard setback from 35 feet required to 6 foot 8 inch provided for the property located at 6055 West Central Avenue. And Darrell, I'll ask you to please give the staff reports.
All right. The applicant is seeking a variance from the Sylvania Township zoning resolution for the purpose of expanding an existing automobile dealership. The subject property consists of 2 adjoining parcels in the Central Woods Business Park plat. At present, the existing building is entirely on Lot 1, the larger of the 2 parcels. This lot has frontage on Central Avenue and Fairbanks Avenue. Abutting Lot 1 to the south is the smaller parcel, Lot 2, which has frontage only on Fairbanks Avenue. All of the parcels fronting Fairbanks south of Central Avenue are Zone C2 with commercial uses. The applicant proposes 3 expansions to the current building. The expansion to the east poses no zoning issues. The expansion to the south would straddle the lot line between lots 1 and 2 and would not meet the setback requirements of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. However, the applicant has filed with the Lucas County Auditor to combine lots 1 and 2 into one parcel. The combining of these 2 lots into one parcel will erase any setback issues for the southern expansion. It is the proposed expansion on the west side of the building on Lot 1 that prompts this variance request. Section 1403 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution dictates a minimum front building setback of 35 feet for a structure within a C2 zone district. The applicant is requesting a variance of 28 feet 4 inches to construct the building addition up to 6 feet 8 inches from the public right-of-way along Fairbanks Avenue. The granting of this variance would also concurrently reduce both the 15-foot front landscape strip requirement as well as the 15-foot front parking setback requirement down to 6 feet 8 inches. In 1991, the Sylvania Township BZA granted a variance to White Brothers property for the property located at 3029 Fairbanks Avenue opposite the subject property. This variance allowed a modification to the setback requirement along Fairbanks Avenue to 6 feet. However, it appears that the building was built approximately 9 feet from the public right-of-way. The Sylvania Township Fire Department and the Sylvania Township Road Department have no issues or concerns with this proposed variance. The Sylvania Township zoning staff recommends denial of the variance request. The granting of this variance would present an aesthetical balance on Fairbanks Avenue near its juncture with Central Avenue. However, staff finds no apparent hardship or exceptional circumstances or conditions with the subject lot to preclude the construction of a building addition compliant with the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
Thank you. Any questions at this point from the board on this matter? And if there's no questions at this point, we'll ask if there's anybody here to speak on behalf of this matter, please. Okay, and before we do that, anybody may be testifying today, please raise your right hand.
Forgot all about that.
And do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, please.
Good afternoon, Jerry Parker, attorney for the York business. With me today are the York business. I'm sure you're all familiar with both. There is, in addition to Toyota getting variance, actually approved more than the one we're requesting. There is a unique feature about this development. Fairbanks, although it's characterized as a front yard setback, it really is a side yard. Fairbanks, for all intents and purposes, is used primarily by us and Toyota. It's not, I mean, the cars that go down there are entering these two facilities for the most part, or the surface areas or storage areas in the back. Central Avenue is really the frontage here. And as you can see, we're very, very far back from Central Avenue, as most of the other properties are. Secondly, there really is no way to take this dealership to the east without creating problems for fire access. We have to get closer to that property line. That property line is not ours. It's storage of vehicles that are there permanently. So to go in the other area east would create, I think, an objection from safety concerns, which is always, in my opinion, a very, very real concern for any kind of approval, whether it be variance or otherwise. In this situation, as has been stated, now either fire or I think the police have a problem with our variance request. It's often very difficult to justify any variance. I'm fully aware of this. You guys all know I've been doing this a long time. But in this situation, as I said, Fairbanks is really our side yard, not our front yard. In the interest of nothing else but fairness, it would seem to us that we would be allowed a variance that was granted to Toyota years ago. In fact, more of a variance was granted to them than what we're asking for. And as your zoning inspector has indicated, if you look at it from an aesthetic standpoint, once this dealership is expanded, and I do have a rendering of it here, this area is the expansion area here. It's the service base. And you can see right now, I'm sure you've been out there, it's a very attractive building to begin with. This will make it even more attractive, a lot of glass. It's just, this expansion is being necessitated by the dealer. The floor plans for this kind of expansion, Mr. York and Mr. York do not have much control over the floor plans. BMW tells them how they want the cars to come in the service bay. If you notice here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, this is how the vehicles will enter. This is the expansion here. BMW, even if we wanted to expand it on the other side, from a logistical standpoint, it just wouldn't work. This is the only way we can expand our dealership and still keep the service area in a situation where we're fine. But, as I said, for the reasons that I've enunciated, number one, Toyota is enjoying the benefits of such a variance. And two, Fairbanks is not really a front yard. It's really the side yard for this facility. Unfortunately, as all of you know, when you're on a, quote, corner lot, you have, in most instances, two frontages. And then the other variance, we obviously took care of that because personally I thought there was no chance to get that in the rear. I mean, going across the property line, and I said, I don't see any exceptional circumstances that would allow you to do that. So we combined the parcels to eliminate that encroachment on the property line. If you don't have any other comments, if you have any questions, we'd be glad obviously to answer them. Any questions about Mr. York, Mr. York?
I have a quick question. What typically, if it wasn't two fronts, what would that commercial to commercial, the side yard have been?
Should know that off the top of my head.
I know, I should have too. Pass it on to you.
For a side setback, 10 feet.
Okay.
We're not asking for much in the way of variance. It truly functions as our side yard. It'd be one thing if businesses were facing us on Fairbanks, fronting on Fairbanks. None of them do. There's no way that's functionally used as a front yard from Central Avenue south by anybody.
Darrell, were you able to go back and review and see what the circumstances were when to get a variance to whites back then?
Yeah, I looked at it, it really doesn't say much about it. It refers to it as variance to the side setback, so I don't know how they interpreted that as a side setback back then, but, no, it didn't really go into much detail.
So back then, if it's a side setback, then they were asking for, if it was 10 feet, they're asking for 3 feet 6?
I think Toyota's asking for 3 feet, we're asking for 2.4, I'm sorry. They went all the way to 6 foot. They were allowed to go to
6 foot.
Yeah, they went to 6 feet.
It would have been a 4
But
foot.
they didn't build it out that far.
Right. Yeah, they were granted up to the 6 feet. And I didn't go out there and measure it, but just using the measuring tool on the Lucas County GIS, it looked like the closest the building was about 9 feet from the right-of-way.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sure do. So BMW requires a certain layout,
Yes.
so if you don't receive this variance, then
You got a real problem.
you will not expand?
Not only expand, we may have to find somebody where we can expand, unfortunately. It's a real hardship in that sense from a business standpoint. It may not be one from the zoning, but if we can't lay this out the way it's laid out here, we may have to go somewhere else to get that dealership. It's the dealerships that are driving this in all situations. I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect Toyota wanted it. I mean, if you look at the dealerships, it's, east to west is the attraction. They want as much visibility and showroom as possible on Central Avenue. And that's what happened. But the key thing for me is, I think the BZA was correct back how many years ago in functionally considering that a side yard, given the unusual circumstances.
Is there a service drive-through on the site now, Gary?
Yes, it's runs east-west. It's in the middle of the
Oh, it
building.
is.
It's
So
one
it doesn't
lane,
fit,
will be going
doesn't fit
two
with
lanes.
their prototype.
Pardon?
Hey, hang on,
Doesn't fit
I'm gonna have to,
with the
John, I'm gonna have to ask you.
There's no way to expand it, and they want it,
He got
at his
one.
point, they want it visible.
Right, I just need to have him identify himself for the record. Just identify yourself for the record.
Sorry,
Thank you.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
It's about right there, isn't it?
Yes. There's a white part of the
All right.
building is got right east to west there.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Have you discussed this with the neighbors? It looks like most of it's car dealership back there, the road goes, is the pet place still in business?
I don't know, but the notices were required, and there's nobody here but us chickens.
I drove through there, their sign was still up there. You talking about Carnick?
Yeah, I drove by today as well, there was no cars there. So I would-
Oh, yeah. Not sure.
We've had nothing, I've heard nothing. And
Yeah,
John?
we own all the property to the south, all the way around. We own the old 84 lumber, which is on the bottom of the U that road turns into. So we're most of the neighbors. We are the neighbors.
Well, I've heard from no one having any issue.
And one thing, at some point, it might even be looked at as possibly putting a request to abandon that street. I mean, if it's really,
I talked about that with Darrell, and I talked about it with the Arts. I've done it before in that township, in that area where we just vacate the street. But, yeah, it's a possibility. Because once again, it serves as a driveway, basically, for these businesses.
any other questions? Anybody has? Okay, did anyone else want to speak on this matter today? No? Do you folks want to go and confer on this? Okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll go off the record. We're going to confer on this, then we'll come back and give you our decision momentarily. Thanks.
Jerry.
Oh, yeah, and John, if we could ask you two to sign in, please. Jerry. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything, but Okay. All right, if there's not anything else before us, then I'll make a motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Hayes?
Yes.
Okay. Call the roll, Mr. Mullen?
Yes.
Mr. Schlocker?
Yes?
Mr. Helberg?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
And Mr. Hayes?
Yes. Nobody ever votes against adjourning.
Against what?
Against adjournment.
Yeah, right, it's like too fast.
You guys.